Welcome to the online V-Ray for Architects course. This is our first class, and before we start the V-Ray lesson, I recommend you in my website in the modeling section, modeling living room, watch the basic tips for the modeling. This is for the modeling, but because our rendering and materials in the 3D Max are affected by the scale of the objects, it is very important to have a basic knowledge. Also, I will provide two more videos from the older course about how to import the AutoCAD file inside your scene and how to work with them. So, for now, I want to, as the first class, focus on the gamma correction. It may happen for you before that you render a scene and what you have seen in your monitor was different from what you could see in your client system or your friend monitor. It was darker or brighter than yours. As our work in ARC, we need accuracy. It is very important to know and understand the gamma. It was better I start this part with first calibrating my monitor to show you how you can calibrate it, but because maybe you don't have basic understanding of why we need to use the gamma and correct the gamma in the max. It may be your first time you are hearing about this, so first I will focus on the 3D Max, how you can use the 3D Max, how you can correct your work, and at the end of this lesson I will talk about how you can correct and calibrate your monitor for showing everything and the colors right. I have a simple scene here. There is a room, just has a one entrance in here, and there is a one free light, photometric light, and I want to render the scene. In my V-Ray setting I am using the frame buffer, and in my environment I am using the white color as environment, and the color mapping, everything is default. First I will show you what is the importance of the gamma, and the rest I will talk about how to set up. So don't worry if you don't know what the setting I have chosen here. And I also have an indirect illumination, irradiance, and the light catch. I render the scene. Okay, if this picture is right or not. Maybe some people say it is the right, and it is because what they always see in their renders. But I can say and prove you that it is wrong. Why? We have one big light source here. You can see from its intensity how it's so bright, but why here is so dark. So there is something wrong. I push the sRGB button here. I will talk about this later in this lesson. I just want to show you the difference. This button will correct it and change it to the gamma 2.2. When I push it sRGB, it will show me the correct image. Maybe you think it is too bright, but it is the real picture that it could be happen with this bright light. So you can see and understand what is the difference between the gamma 2.2 and gamma 1. Okay, then I will show you some more to understand it better. I reset the scene. I make one simple plan here. In my material editor I apply the gradient. gradient ramp with nothing in the middle, just black and white. Apply it to here, and again render it. We don't need anything. I just want to use the frame buffer because frame buffer can switch between sRGB mode and our normal linear gamma. So I render this. Is it the right image or wrong? With sRGB, it will show this like this, and I can say this is the right one. But because our eyes always see like this, we think this is the right one. Let's show with the color to understand it better. I choose the color of the red here and the green here. Look at the picture and let's render it again. This is without sRGB, and now I will apply the sRGB. Look at the difference. Which one do you think is more accurate and more natural? Of course this one. You can see how it gradient from the green and change the color to the red. While without sRGB, it is green here, big green, and quite become darker and go to the red. So here you can understand how it can change our color, sRGB mode or color correction. Let's add something else. I want to add a sphere here, and in my sphere, in the opacity, I will give the fall off. Change the color because I want here be the opacity, and let's make it the opacity wider. Let's see this like this. Okay, the opacity area I want to be the wider. Apply it to the sphere, and in the front view I render it. Okay, this is with sRGB, and this is without sRGB. How it should look like, how it should fade. Look at how it is fading when we have the sRGB. sRGB is equal to gamma 2.2, and how it is look like dark and almost in the same tone when we don't have the sRGB. So now you can understand how it is important for us to use the gamma correction. So let's move and see what we can do. I open again our previous file, and we go to the customize preferences. In the gamma and LUT tab, you can enable gamma and LUT correction. I enable it. It is not I think it is not by default 2.2, but because before I have chosen the 2.2, so here you can see it. So our gamma I choose for example 1, and you can see the contrast between this big rectangle and the checker around. You can feel the contrast so easily. I change it to 1.8 and 2.2, which we will need to use it. When you can understand this is the correct gamma, and when you are looking with your eyes from your monitor, when you know it is the right value, when this rectangle or a square doesn't have any difference in the color with this surrounding border. So now I am using the gamma 2.2. and I hit the OK. You can see here is also quite the lighter, and I render the scene again. Well, actually I want to change it to the normal frame buffer, because the V-Ray frame buffer is, which we will talk about later, it would control just with that, with the sRGB button. So now we are using the gamma 2.2, and you can see the picture here. Well, now there is a one problem. The color what we have chosen in here is not similar to this color. The color here is dark, here is brighter. So the second problem is this. The first was our gamma, and the second is the difference between the colors. So again, I will go to my customize preference, or I can go to rendering gamma LUT setup. LUT is a short form of the lookup table. I think the Max 2009 and before doesn't have this button, so this option, so you need to go to the preference. But here in 2010 and 11 we can choose it from here and directly go to this bar. You have the material and the color section. You can say it affect on your color selector and the material editor. Both I check and OK. Now your material are brighter, and it is same as what you can see in here. So if you want it change this, just change it from here first. If you want it to be darker or anything, change from here, then render it, and you will get what you want. It may look little weird, or because before a long time you work with the gamma, with actually no gamma or gamma 1, so it's quite hard to see your material editor like this, but it is the fact and the true colors. But still, if you are not you want to back to the old look material, you can go to the option and just reduce the background intensity to 0.1. It can quiet back to the older one. However, then your material you need to change again. Okay, so I will work with this also, 0.1. So it is how we can get the true color and true render without changing in any monitor. As I said, in the end of this session I will talk about calibrating your monitor too. But there is another problem, which is when we want to add a texture. Okay, let's actually make the just let apply this to this wall to the right. Okay, I choose the material editor, select the diffuse and the bitmap. In here I will choose the yellow break, which is from the maps of the 3D Studio Max. I choose this and I will open this, and as you can see it looks quite brighter, over brighter actually. Let me delete this light and render the scene with little bit indirect illumination to the low, and okay. Now we just have one light in here. Well, if this color is not over brighter, because our original texture is like this, is burned like this, but in our render it's quite lighter, it become over bright. Keep in mind that the most of the pictures, which actually I can say all the pictures we take by the digital cameras, have already gamma 2.2. So when we want to import our image and we are using the image on gamma or use system gamma, now our system gamma is 2.2, it will double our gamma, so it will be over bright. So what we should do is override it. Override, and as we know it is 2.2, so we will override, and you can see here now the color back to original. So the color is exactly same as what we have in the picture, same as what we are seeing in the monitor. So this is how you can use the texture, material, and the texture. And one more tip here is that in your gamma LUT setup, you also can set that your input gamma and output gamma for the bitmap be what number. You can choose already 2.2 in here and hit OK. So when this time you are using the image on gamma, image system default or on gamma, it will be because input, if we already set to 2.2, it will be override. So one of the way is also like this, that you can use this way to put all of them 2.2. Okay, the next is after we save our work, how it will be shown. When you want to save it, it also will ask you the your gamma. You can use the use system default gamma, which is here 2.2. If in the gamma LUT setup you already choose this to 1, so or even it is a cancel, so it will be, it means that actually your gamma is 1. So if now I save it, it is exactly same as what we have with the JPG. I use the system default gamma, and you can see here it's same as what we render. But if it wasn't active and it wasn't active actually in here and it was so dark like this, I save it with the, when it is deactive actually gamma LUT setup, you don't have any choice of the gamma controlling in the exit or the enter, importing or exporting your image. So it will be absolutely without any gamma or gamma 1. And what you can see will be like this. But if your gamma be active and even here be 1, actually just output be 1, when you save it you can choose the it be saved with 2.2 gamma, and actually the test 3, and it save it with the gamma 2.2. Well, another way which we will talk about in the other lesson too more deeply, but I just want to show you in here, is when we use the frame buffer, I render. It will render first with the gamma 1.1, sorry, gamma 1. And when we apply the sRGB, it will apply the gamma 2.2. sRGB is equal to 2.2 gamma. But look at the jagginess in here after we apply. Another way and more clean way is that you use the color mapping, because in our color mapping we also have the gamma, and now by default is 1. If I choose it to 2 and render the scene, I deactivate the gamma. Okay, you can see more clean picture, because is actually about this our subdivide, because when this is the rendering and it is directly affected to our pixel rather than we later apply the sRGB. And now we no need to use sRGB, because if we apply it, it will overbright our picture, and again jagginess, because we cannot apply 2.2 gamma 2 times. So it is another way, but it has some rules that in the future lesson, when we are talking about the rendering, you will learn about this. Okay, and so when we are using the frame buffer of the V-Ray, keep in mind that it will render with the gamma 1 by default. The gamma is deactive. Then you need to apply the sRGB, and when you want to save it, you need to again use it the gamma 2.2. Let's look at some definition. There is a relationship between the brightness of a pixel as shown in the screen, which we also can call it luminance of your monitor, and its numerical value or pixel level. As we have already seen, that we are not just changing the brightness of the scene. Gamma correction control overall brightness of your image, but it is not just changing brightness and also the ratio of the red, green and blue. It was what you could see in the gradient ramp. Gamma affects us on the middle tones, and that doesn't have any effect on the black or white color. Each pixel has any value of the red, green and the blue from 0 to 255. So if it means that the middle range is 127, this is 0, this is 255, so the middle range is 1 to 7. Let's see the gamma curve. This is the blue color is the gamma 1, and you can see the green and the red with the gamma 1.5 and 1.8, and the last curve is gamma 2.2. This is the white color here, and here the 0 is a black color. This y axis is the this is the y axis and this is the x axis. You can see here is from 0 to 1, and here is from 0 to 255. In the linear one, in the gamma 1, in the middle area, you can see the 1 to 7 is in the middle. So this is right for the gamma 1. But when we are using the gamma correction, the middle range 1 to 7 is almost here, 20% of the work. It was what we could see in here. This is without applying sRGB or gamma 2.2, and when we apply the sRGB, you can see the the range will be like this, and it is what the human eyes responds. It is how the human eyes work. So this is not the wrong one, this is the right one. And now you can understand why. So this is our main reason. And gamma 2.2 means sRGB. In fact, there are some small difference between the gamma 2.2 and sRGB, but the curve of sRGB is almost on the gamma 2.2, so we can call gamma 2.2 equal to sRGB, and also we can say equal to 6500 Kelvin, which is a white color. Why I am mentioning the Kelvin value here? Because in the some monitor and graphic card you need to it will provide you by the Kelvin color, and I will show you a bit later in this video. And just mention one thing else about here, the 1.8 is what in the old Macintosh system use 1.8 gamma. I'm not sure about now, because we are using the Windows and the PC, so we can maybe check it about the Macintosh system is what gamma it has now. But the nowadays monitors and the laptops use the gamma 2.2. However, we need to calibrate it. And the last thing is that yes, the gamma of monitor is typically 2.5. Yes, 2.2 or 2.5, and it doesn't have so much difference. This is so near value, so we no need to care about this. And one more thing about this value is that if I go to the max, and because I want to show the Kelvin value, you can see the Kelvin value in here. 6500 is white color, and in the older monitor it was actually 9300. It was quite bluish, and in the CRT monitors it was 500, quite yellowish. Okay, so after we change and we learn some definition, now how we can calibrate our monitor. We have two choices usually for the calibrating our monitor. One is that actually we have two kind of the gamma. One is the gamma of our monitor, and one is the gamma of the system, which is for the graphic card. And if we put both of them for the sRGB or gamma 2.2, it will be again over bright, so we must make sure we are not doing something wrong. For the monitor, I cannot show it to you, but in your monitor setting you probably have the sRGB option. Nowadays monitor LCDs all have all using the sRGB, so you no need to care about your monitor so much. About your graphic card also, there are lots of kind of the graphic cards, but such as for me, I show you can go to your desktop, right click properties. I'm using the Chinese version of the Windows. I'm not Chinese, but my Windows is Chinese, so not choice. Go to the setting, the last setup, and one more point is that make sure you are always using 32-bit or 24, which are the true color. Then go to your setting, and I cannot see so much things, so just in my graphic card settings, and let me see where it was. Okay, here in my color I have the temperature, and it is by default 6500 Kelvin, which is a white color. So now you have the knowledge about these settings, that what it should be. Usually they are the right setting, they already created, because for showing the color of the any picture true, they are right. What you need to care is your 3D Max settings. Okay, but how you can know your monitor setting is right? This picture, which I will provide for you actually in the project file of this tutorial, is one of the good ways to understand your monitor calibration is right. If you look at this, take a distance from your monitor, look straight, you should not see, and actually the distance should be something that you cannot see these small lines, and when you get the distance, these lines should be mixed with the background color. Then you can understand it is the right, the calibrating of your monitor, the gamma is right. And if you cannot go so far from your monitor, behind you there is a wall, just close your eyes a bit and then look at this picture. And if you want to understand this better, there is another picture you can see from the gamma 1 and the gamma 3. You can understand the gamma, this area, these are quite similar. The background and the lines, they can be mixed, but in the top gamma 1 or in the gamma 3, they cannot mix. So there is a big difference between the colors, which make the colors of the output and the rendering not the true color. Well, it was all about the gamma that you need to learn. Let's review our work once at the end of this class. We have learned what is the gamma and why it is so important for us, how it can change the colors of the output for us, and we already learned why there is some difference between our monitor and the others monitor. We learned how to set up our gamma inside the 3D Max, how we can control the color, texture, and make the true color for them, and some of the other tips, same as the color mapping, which we will discuss it in the future lessons. I hope you have been enjoy of this first class.